Welcome back to Raiders of the Lost podcast, everyone.
Episode 11, we're doing the best boxing movies of all time. So we wrapped up our hands for this. We're good to go.
We got our gloves ready.
We were going to do best sports movies, but then we realized every good sports movie is a boxing movie.
Our top 5 sports movies were boxing, so we're like, let's just do a boxing podcast.
Boxing. They're all the best movies.
Yeah, some of the best movies ever have been boxing movies.
In general. Sports, I think it's because it's about an individualistic story, one character mostly, two characters sometimes.
Overcoming like adversity and perseverance on their own.
Rather than a team sport, way too many characters going on. But anyways, boxing episode. But before we get started, again, thank you everybody who's been leaving reviews for us, those 5-star reviews, even those 1 or 2 4-star reviews. Still appreciate it. Share us with your friends so we can grow faster. We will be announcing, or we announced the winner to the giveaway contest yesterday. So I don't know that we're filming this on Monday night. But so someone won the poster giveaway.
Congratulations
to whoever won that. But again, subscribe to the YouTube channel. If you're new, follow us on Spotify, iTunes Podcasts, Google Podcasts, everywhere, guys. Join the cult following of the fastest growing identical twin film podcast in the world.
In the movie TV genre.
In the TV film genre, yes. I think we're the only identical twin podcast that talks about movies, to be honest.
Yeah, we have a niche audience we're getting.
But anyways, we're going to begin with one of our mutually all-time favorite movies, Rocky. Which, I don't know, might be top 10 most viewed movie of my lifetime. We've seen it so many times.
It never gets old. You can watch it over and over again, and I'll never get sick of it. It's just perfect.
It used to always be on, like, the AMC channel and stuff like that, so it's always on TV. It's one of those movies that once you put it on, you're going to watch the whole goddamn thing.
It is the ultimate underdog story. Of all underdog stories, it's Rocky.
Yeah.
You can't think of anything that beats it.
That's the thing with sports movies is the very popular, the best sports movies are always underdog stories because the audience really connects with an underdog. They love an underdog. It's a cliche, but it's true for a reason.
Yeah.
You know, Rocky was one of those early sports underdog stories that kind of has just created a new genre of the underdog.
Yeah.
So like so many movies fall into that category. Even movies like Seabiscuit fall into the category of an underdog overcoming odds.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the reasons why it's such a beloved movie.
And it resonates with audiences, and it did when it came out in such a profound way where it won Best Picture. Yeah. And it actually beat Taxi Driver for Best Picture.
Yeah.
Which is crazy if you think about it.
Yeah, so Rocky came out in 1976, the same year as Taxi Driver, on a budget of $1.1 million, and it grossed $225 million, which today with inflation is about $500-600 million.
Yeah, it's a huge hit.
Yeah, so
it was like the movie of the year of 1976. Everyone was talking about Rocky.
Yeah, and just the story about how Rocky got made is almost as inspiring as the movie itself and the story, where we all have heard the story of Sylvester Stallone was dead broke. He had his dog he loved. He had to sell his dog for $40 cash because he couldn't afford food. And he didn't want to sell the script yet because... Why didn't he want to sell the script?
Well, he was shopping the script around, and a few studios and producers really liked the script, and they wanted to buy it from him, but they didn't want him to star in it because he was a nobody. They didn't think he was very talented as an actor. And so they wanted a legit star.
James Caan,
someone like kind of guys to star as Rocky. But Sly stuck to his guns, and he refused to sell the script unless he was the star of the film and played Rocky. And so it took a while for people to agree, but eventually a studio got on board and bought the script from him, and he was hired as the actor.
Yeah, he had to wait for the budget to drop to like $1 million. Yeah. Where they're like, we financially just have to let him star in it because he's just going to get $50 a day.
I'm pretty sure he didn't even get upfront payment. I think he got back end.
He got daily pay.
Yeah.
Like cheap, the lowest daily pay you can get.
Yeah.
And I mean, it wasn't a long shooting schedule.
But I mean, you gotta respect that. He just believed in himself so much where he wouldn't even take the quick money just to sell the script. He was like, this is my story. I have to act in this.
Yeah, he got offered like I think $325,000.
He got offered good money for the script.
That's a lot of money in 1976.
It's a great script. Yeah. Great script.
Well, his original storyline and script was a little different. Like I know Paulie in his original script was like the Jewish mother of Adrian, and Mickey was a little different. Mickey was a lot more racist in the movie. And so there was a lot of different small differences like that. Like Apollo Creed was Jamaican. So obviously he probably got some help with the story and stuff like that from the studios. Yeah. But still sticking to his guns. And the dog Butkus in Rocky is his real dog.
Hey, Butkus.
Hey, Butkus. That's the dog he had to sell his dog, his beloved dog. It was like his only friend in the world for $40. And then after he sold the script and was going to make the movie, he tried to buy the dog Butkus back from the new owners, and they charged him $15,000 for it.
Oh my god, what pieces of shit!
Seriously, man.
Oh
like
my god,
his dog that he had to sell because he couldn't afford to feed it or himself, and you're gonna make him buy it back for $15,000?
Unreal.
Like, what kind of person is that? I would have let him have it for free. Just let me come to the movie premiere.
Yeah.
He probably would have let them.
But I love, because that's like the heart of Rocky is he's kind of like this. He calls himself a bum and a scrub, and he has no money. He doesn't have anything going for him. I mean, he's an enforcer for some low life gangsters, and he gets money for them that people owe. But you know, he's always optimistic and positive, and he never seems like to let his situation get him down. And he feels that he's the best boxer around, even though he keeps losing fights. And he has like this endless confidence. Like no one can tell him no.
And positivity too, because like the thing I love about Rocky, which you don't see in a lot of other like boxing movies, fighting movies, is he never like fights angry. He's never like out for revenge really until like the fourth one and maybe in the third one a little bit. He's not fighting Apollo Creed out of anger. He's just fighting him because he believes in himself and he wants to win.
He wants to prove himself. It's like the fight with Apollo is a chance to show people who he is and that he has talent and he is a good boxer. No one gave him a shot before.
And I mean, it's that miraculous underdog opportunity where Rocky wouldn't fight Apollo Creed. He would have never fought him if he didn't have the name the Italian Stallion.
Yeah.
That's the only reason why Apollo Creed chooses him. He's going down the list of fighter nicknames. He's like, oh, Italian Stallion. That sounds great.
Yeah, Rocky Balboa. So it's the arrogance of Apollo Creed, which helps select Rocky, which ends up becoming the toughest fight of Apollo's career.
And he never takes it seriously.
Yeah.
And that's
he never takes the fight seriously, and that's his mistake of underestimating Rocky.
Yeah, completely underestimated.
He didn't even know like who he was.
Yeah, and especially like that scene where Apollo's trainer is watching Rocky on the news, where he's hitting the frozen
and he's
meat,
breaking the ribs,
and he's like smashing the crap out of it. And the trainer's like, "Hey, Apollo, you might want to come check this out." And Apollo's just like too busy worrying about marketing. He's more concerned about promoting the fight and making money out of it and making a spectacle, which a lot of boxers do. That's part of the game.
Yeah.
Whereas Rocky's there, he has nothing to lose. And one of my favorite things about Rocky is the guy. He has like these unorthodox methods of training. Whereas, like, the guy he's fighting up against is always, like, has the best of everything.
Yeah, the combination of the montages and seeing the different training
Rocky's
methods.
punching meat. He's just going for long-ass runs to the art museum and everything. And chasing chickens around.
Doing one-handed push-ups.
Yeah, and then Apollo's just, like, in a giant gym, just, like, surrounded by reporters and everything. It is what it is, but Rocky's just drinking raw eggs in the morning before he wakes up. Like, for the first time his alarm goes off and he chugs, like, it's like that long shot of him chugging the eggs.
He's just like half asleep.
Which, like, if he went forward in time and knew how unhealthy that was,
he definitely would not
chugging eggs before a run.
Hell no,
that's a terrible idea.
That's awful. But he actually did. That's actually what he did in real life, training for it.
Yeah, they didn't know any better.
It's so great. It's so great to see the difference in shape that Sly got into from the first one to the second one to the third one.
Ripped
the
by
guy
the second
was
and third
fucking
ones.
shredded by the second one, and by the third one he was insane.
Well, I know in the second one his body fat percentage was so low that his diet was straight up just like protein and water, and he was even dehydrated while they were shooting all the fighting scenes. And he had to consistently, in between takes, had to do handstands to get blood rushing to his head because he was consistently on the verge of passing out because he was starving himself.
Yeah.
Like, you don't look like that.
Yeah, it's a lot. You have to suffer.
Ripped in that
you have
movie.
to suffer to
He's
look
ripped,
like that.
He's ripped in number 2, but like when he's in 3 and 4, in number 4, dude, that guy is shredded in number 4. I've never seen a guy that small, like that ripped and like that big and shredded at the same time.
That's the thing is like what people don't understand about actors that look insane on camera with shirtless. Like before they film those shirtless scenes, and it happens a lot nowadays. A lot of actors will dehydrate themselves, so when they get to set to film that scene, they haven't had water for like 2 days.
But there are so many things about Rocky. I mean, it's just like this amazing motivational storyline too, that like every time you watch it, you just can't help but want to run through a brick wall every single time. Just the training montages, just the human will of Rocky to persevere, which Sly embodies. Like that, you could tell Sly is as much Rocky as Rocky is Sly.
I mean, he's still kicking.
Yeah.
He's like 80 and he's still
fucking
he's jacked.
Taking that HGH all the time. Hey, I mean, when your testosterone starts slipping, you got to juice up.
But not just that, but he's still working. He never slows down. He doesn't. He just keeps going.
Yeah.
And then Rocky is like that in the ring, and Apollo finds that out in the fight that no matter what he does to Rocky, Rocky just keeps coming. He doesn't stop.
Yeah.
He doesn't give up. Even if he gets knocked down, even if he gets beat up, he will keep coming.
And the scene at the fight between him and Apollo, where it's like halfway through the fight, Rocky's getting tooled on.
Yeah.
But he's fighting back.
Yeah.
But like Apollo like knocks him down and he thinks that he beat him.
Yeah, he thinks it's
and like
over.
he's like, there's no way Rocky could
He's
survive
super-
this.
he's
This
super
fight is
confident.
thank God this fight is over because I thought
Yeah.
he was like coming back for a little bit. And he like looks to the crowd and he's celebrating and he's exhausted too. But then he turns around and sees Rocky getting up
And
before
then
the
his
10
face
count.
drops.
That look on his face of sheer disbelief that how is this man still alive? How is he? What is he? He's not human. What's he doing? How can he possibly survive the pummeling I'm giving him? And that's like what inspired Goggins to be the baddest man alive. And that's just like every time you watch that Apollo Creed's face, you're just like, oh my God.
It's because Rocky had more heart.
He does.
He has all the heart you can get.
Miles and miles of heart.
And then that fight, what makes that fight and the movie work so well is that in most movies, the underdogs in the fight and then they win and then it's like, oh, they won, they beat this huge favorite, this Goliath, and everyone's celebrating and it's like a good ending. But in Rocky, he loses the fight. And so the expectation is he's going to win, and so it doesn't work out that way, and it actually makes the film stronger for it.
I agree. I think it's a perfect movie, and it wouldn't be a perfect movie if Rocky won the fight.
Rocky needed to prove himself to himself and to other people.
And he didn't need to win.
Yeah.
He went all the way,
Yeah.
all 15 rounds
With the
against
champ.
heavyweight champion of the world.
Yeah.
And then just to make sure he gave him everything when they're both just destroyed in the
Yeah.
hospitals, and he wheelchairs over to Apollo Creed's room
Yeah.
and he asks him if he gave him everything he had.
Yeah.
And he said, yeah, I did. He
Yeah.
gave him everything he had. So that's all Rocky needed. Rocky didn't need to win. All he needed to do was prove his worth,
Yeah.
which he does. One of the best parts of the movie, too, is the music by Bill Conti.
Oh, fuck yeah.
My God, like one of the most iconic movie themes in the history of cinema. I mean, it's up there with like James Bond.
Yeah.
With like Star Wars.
Everyone knows it.
Everyone knows the Rocky theme.
Even if you haven't seen the movie, you know it.
Da-na-na, da-na-na. And then the song
Eye of the Tiger?
during the fight, not Eye of the Tiger, but I mean, I'm still in Bill Conti's score, is when they're fighting and then like Rocky starts to turn things around after he gets up from that knockout down from Apollo. Then like you hear the bell ring, and then I think it's Adrian goes, win, like she's watching the TV, she's like, win. And then the music, there's like the bells and the chimes in the background. That gives me goosebumps every
fuck
time.
yeah. I just got some thinking about it. That's how much we love the character.
Yeah.
Like, can you think of? There's so few characters you love as much as you love Rocky.
Rocky's my
Rocky
guy.
and Maximus from Gladiator, and like that's it.
I got a Rocky shirt on right now. Gotta represent Rocky. He's the man. And I mean, just fun facts about the movie. Dolph Lundgren sent Sylvester Stallone to the hospital for 8 days because he punched him so hard. He did something to
Caved
his
his
heart.
chest in?
Yeah, he like caved his chest in.
I think
and,
he
like,
broke his rib cage.
He broke his rib cage and his heart swelled up. That if he didn't get to the hospital that day, they said he would have died from a heart attack.
Oh my god!
And then his
What's the weight
breastbone.
difference between those two? Like
It's probably
80 pounds?
I bet you Dolph, when he's that big and in shape, he was probably like 270
At least.
He's probably like
Yeah.
he's like Gronk because he's like 6'7", 270, something like that. Adrian was almost cast as Susan Sarandon,
No, really.
but they deemed her too sexy of an actress to play the role,
yeah,
which makes sense.
you couldn't have someone sexy because it's like what David Fincher said about Elizabeth Salander, because Scarlett Johansson was the studio's top choice for Elizabeth Salander in Dragon Tattoo, but Fincher said no, you can't have ScarJo play her because like the audience, if they're watching her, they just want her to get naked the whole time.
They just get
So you need
distracted.
someone that can sell that off-putting nature.
Yeah,
of the
that's
character.
nothing against ScarJo's acting chops. It's just, that makes total sense.
Yeah.
That's a director aware of what the story is
Yeah,
and how
exactly.
audiences react to things.
Yeah.
Stallone and Carl Weathers, aka Apollo Creed, rehearsed for 4 weeks the fight.
I bet.
So it took that long
Well,
to
it's like a
rehearse.
30-minute fight.
And I mean, Apollo, like the blows that Rocky takes in that movie
Dude,
are absurd.
they're just constant haymakers the whole time.
We should Google how many times Rocky gets hit in that movie because
Does
it's
he
insane.
does he even put his hands up to block once?
I don't think he knows how to put his hands up. And not, I mean, he got hit a lot. People get hit a lot in boxing, but he gets hit with like hooks the
Right
whole
to the
time.
face.
Jesus, my God. Stallone wrote the first draft of Rocky in 3.5 days,
Damn.
82 straight hours. He said he wrote it in.
Wow.
But yeah, man, Rocky's just a legendary movie. It'll forever stand the test of time.
It's one of the best characters.
One of my favorite movies for sure. Like top 20 easily.
Absolutely.
Probably 15.
I never get sick of it. You watch that movie and there's not a moment where you can like nitpick anything about it. It's a perfect movie. Want to move on to Raging Bull?
Let's move on to probably the best boxing movie ever made. Like I say Rocky is one of the best boxing movies ever, but I think Raging Bull is a better made movie, if that makes sense.
I think Raging Bull is the pinnacle of sports movies.
Yeah, or just in filmmaking in general.
Yeah, it's an unbelievable piece of cinema.
Whereas
it's insane.
whereas Rocky's more influential, Raging Bull is just one of the best movies I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, Scorsese's directing in that is so strong, so unique, and so artistic, and so metaphorical. You don't see it in sports. I don't think you've ever seen it in a sports movie ever again. Like when he does like that dolly track, the dolly zoom shot on Sugar Ray. That the Jaws shot where the camera, they track it out, but they're zooming in with a long lens, so it gives that the character stays static, but the depth
of field changes.
Yeah, the depth of field changes, so the background stretches.
Yeah.
So he does that in the Sugar Ray fight when he's about to knock LaMotta out, and LaMotta's just staring at him, and then Scorsese does the dolly zoom. And it's just one of the many like incredible artistic techniques he uses. A lot of them are old school techniques too. So many flash cuts. Like you can feel like the fierceness and the speed of the fights because of the quick cuts in it.
Yeah. Well, the thing with his fight sequences, there's only not even 10 minutes of fighting of actual boxing in the movie.
Yeah.
In the whole entire movie. But every time you're in a fight sequence in a fight with De Niro's character and Jake LaMotta, it's so memorable and unique and creative that even today, people still don't really top how Scorsese filmed the fighting scenes.
Yeah, it's like he does there's so many tight shots. The sound effects are insane.
And there's a great tracking shot along the ringside where LaMotta's running up and throwing punches against, I think it was Sugar Ray or one of them, but the shot's tracking with him and he's throwing punches and he gets him up against the ropes. It's it's hypnotic.
Yeah, it's insane.
And like you'll watch like modern day boxing movies like Southpaw or something like that. They're good.
They did a good job with Creed.
Creed's good. They did a great job in the ring. They did it a little in a unique style, but like nothing will ever top Scorsese's ability to change the way you perceive how fighters fight.
Exactly.
He takes this violent subject with this horrible misogynistic character, but he tells a story in a poetic way still, in an artistic way.
It's a movie about violence and toxic masculinity. You know what I mean? Jake LaMotta is probably the most stubborn and cruel characters we've ever seen on film. So LaMotta is such a stubborn person that he refuses to accept help from anyone, whether it be promoters, like money guys,
His brother,
the gangsters who want to help promote him and get him up there, because fighters need to be able to promote themselves. They can't just fight to get to the championship. They need to do some like FaceTime with public and with the media, and he refuses to do anything that he doesn't want to do.
Yeah, someone's got to pay for your training. You can't.
Exactly. So it's this. He isolates himself from everyone, the world, even the industry, everyone that can help him. He just shuts them away. Because he's so isolated, and he's only in it for himself, and to prove others wrong.
Yeah, he's extremely self-destructive.
Yeah,
he's sexually jealous, and he's just full of rage.
Yeah,
and like even the scene where he's having his brother Joe Pesci just keep punching him in the face.
Yeah.
It's like harder. Shows that he just has no feelings at all for anyone.
Exactly.
Not even himself, not even for his brother.
Yeah.
Beats the crap out of his brother. He accuses his brother of sleeping with his wife and everything.
Yeah.
And then like the real Jake LaMotta's wife even said that like after she watched the movie, he's like, "Is that what I was really like?" And she's like, "You were worse than that."
Yeah.
And can you imagine someone worse than De Niro's portrayal?
He's a horrible person.
Jake LaMotta.
Yeah, he's unbelievable.
And I mean, De Niro's transformation into this guy.
Yeah.
It's one of the greatest acting performances of all time.
It's his best performance.
It really is. And like if you're a fan of acting and you haven't seen this movie, you got to watch this movie ASAP because you won't recognize De Niro. Yes, they do have some like
they have a fake nose on him, and they curled his hair,
some prosthetics, but still, you won't even think you're watching De Niro because I've never seen someone embody a role so well as him in this movie. Maybe a few other characters.
He's so terrifying, even when he's not saying anything. Just a glare that he gives someone.
You feel like he's gonna hit you, and you're watching. You're not even in the movie. You're afraid of him.
It's like being afraid of like a dad. You know what I mean? It's like he just exudes this dominance over everyone.
Yeah, he's just terrifyingly amazing in this movie. And again, he makes you feel for this horrible character,
Yeah.
this terrible person who you also watch reach the top of the world
On
and
his
then
own.
crumble to the ground,
Yeah.
because of himself, and he can't get over himself, and he's so self-destructive.
Yeah, and Scorsese opens it with the mirror shot where he's got to be like 250 pounds. He looks like shit.
He put on 60 pounds in real life for that.
Yeah, so he actually De Niro went to Italy and just ate pasta for like 4 months, and he put on so much weight that he had like a heart problem because of it.
I'm sure, yeah.
But it was great to open it. So to open the film with that and to see like what this character becomes, and then it cuts right to him in a boxing match at like the pinnacle of his shape in his at his craft, and it's incredible to see that juxtaposition of what he became and what he was. You know what I mean? And it all happened because of his own doing.
Yeah.
He destroyed his own world
Yeah.
because of his actions and his choices.
Yeah. And I just love the way Marty filmed this movie, and like so many of like the POV slow motion shots in the ring with like there's just smoke going around, and I love the black and white aesthetic,
Yeah.
which he did for two reasons. One of the reasons he did the black and white aesthetic is because Rocky came out a few years before, and that was like the new thing. Like instead of like westerns in the 50s and 60s, everyone in Hollywood wanted to make a boxing movie,
Yeah.
and there are many coming out in the same year or two, and so he's so smart, and he has the foresight to realize if there's 5 movies coming out next year that are all boxing movies, how is mine going to look different? I'm going to make mine black and white.
Smart.
Even though no one else is really making black and white movies right now, how am I? This is going to make mine
gonna set it
more
apart.
memorable, set it apart, make it more noticeable, more likely for people to go see it, more likely for people to remember it.
Yeah. And then like the black and white, you can really see like what, and then he has the smoke in the background during all the boxing fights, but also that contrast it creates with the blood, like the blood on people's faces,
The blackness of the
yeah,
blood.
it's so dark, and it's really prevalent because it is black and white. And then I think one of the most powerful moments of the movie is after LaMotta gets arrested and he's put in the jail cell, and then first he yells at the guards, and then he sulks and sits on the cot for a couple of moments, and then he goes to the brick wall and he just starts fucking punching it, like laying into it and screaming, and it was him just like getting out everything inside of him. He just because all he knows how to do is to fight, and fighting was his way of getting his aggression out, violence. So then he just does what he does best, is just like let it out on that wall, and just to see De Niro just slamming his fists into that brick wall it was unbelievable. It was
Yeah.
such a powerful scene.
Yeah.
And then he breaks down crying.
It's a tough movie to watch.
Yeah.
It really is.
It's about the deterioration of a person and
Yeah.
destroying their life.
Yeah.
Like destroying great success, the greatest success someone can achieve, and then they just blow it up.
Yeah, and he's still, even though he's so successful, he's still bitter.
Yeah.
Because he's undersized, so he can never fight for the heavyweight title. And, that's a great regret of his life, and he mentions it a few times in the movie. He's like, I'll never be able to be the best, or I know I could beat the best. I can't remember who the champion was at the time. He's like, I could beat him.
But I'll never get a shot.
But he's like, what's wrong with me? It's like my hands. I got these small hands. I got these woman hands. I can never fight this person because I'm too small. And so that's his biggest. He's still bitter about
got that chip on
despite
his shoulder.
being the champion of 2 weight classes. I think of light heavyweight and middleweight. And he's despite his success, he still is angry at the world, and he just needs ways to take it out.
And Joe Pesci was a great supporting character in this because he still had that Pesci quality about him, but unlike his other characters in Scorsese movies, like he seems like a good guy. He's always trying to do right by his family and trying to steer his brother in the right direction, even though he hardly listens to him. And he kind of is like he tries to be a dad to him. And he's every scene he's in, he's fantastic.
Yeah. And one of my favorite stories about the movie is that De Niro was attached to it. Scorsese wasn't attached to direct it yet. And but Scorsese had a drug problem, and he had a cocaine overdose, and his life was kind of on the rocks. He was not doing well in his personal life. And De Niro convinced him after like asking him multiple times to direct the movie to help get his life back on track, help to give him direction, ironically, as a director. and Scorsese says that De Niro making him do Raging Bull saved his life and saved him from addiction and got him up from the hole that he was in the bottomless pit. And so you can tell, like,
He put everything into it.
yeah, and you can tell he probably reflects a lot with the story of LaMotta and what he went through and what he did to people. And
He
how
saw a lot of himself in that character.
So I'm sure that he felt really emotional towards it. And you can tell it's probably like the most passion he's put into a project, it looks like on screen.
I think it's apparent for sure. Just watching 5 minutes of it. All right, what we got next?
Next up, we got $1 Million Baby.
Oh man, I'm gonna cry already.
Already crying. Now, this movie is phenomenal. It's a movie that will lift your spirits for an hour and a half, and then within a few seconds, just absolutely break your heart and
Gut
shatter
you.
it to a million pieces.
By the great Clint Eastwood.
Man, as soon as I see the opening titles for this movie, I start to cry.
And you hear that theme,
Oh my god.
the music. Oh my god.
And I think this movie just proves, even though it was what, like 2006 or something like that,
Yeah.
that Clint's one of our greatest directors to come from Hollywood.
Absolutely.
A lot of people don't understand or realize that he's directed so many movies.
He's like almost at 40 movies
And
directed.
He's directed so many good movies.
Yeah.
And this movie got him his second win for Best Director. So he won Best Director for Unforgiven. And he's in that elite class of directors who've won multiple Oscars for Best Director, like Steven Spielberg.
And he's been nominated more than a few times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hilary Swank won Best Actress in a leading role. And then Morgan Freeman won Best Actor in a supporting role. And then it also won Best Picture.
Screenplay too.
So it got nominated for screenplay.
Also nominated, yeah.
This movie took a bunch of awards home, and you can clearly see why when you watch it, because it's just an amazing movie. It's a heartbreaking story, and like a lot of other sports movies, like Rocky, underdog story.
Yeah.
This hillbilly girl named Maggie from God knows where. She's got a crappy family,
No education.
no education. She can barely speak good English.
She's in her late 30s, and she's in her 30s,
She's
and
31
she
when she walks into the gym.
works at a diner.
Yeah.
And a lot of the food that she eats is the leftovers of her customers at the diner. She takes home and eats.
So when you see how poor she actually is,
Yeah.
and like she has to lie about taking the steak home for her dog. She doesn't have a dog, and she's collecting coins for money to pay her bills and everything. And
You can't help but like watching the day in the life of this woman, just to feel so bad for her and empathize for her.
it's very similar to Rocky.
Yeah.
Someone poor, someone comes from nothing, someone with like this big ridiculous dream that like there's no way you can achieve this goal of being a great fighter. Like, what are you doing wasting your time here? And even Frankie Clint
Tells her
Eastwood,
right away.
he doesn't believe in her at all. It takes half the movie for him to start like training her and everything.
Yeah.
And Morgan Freeman brings this warmth to this movie, not just when he's acting, but the voiceover he does.
Yeah, and then the friendship between him and Clint, you can tell like they bust each other's balls, but like you can tell there's a great rich history between them.
But also a lot of pain.
Yeah, exactly.
Because in the story between those two characters, Clint was Morgan Freeman's trainer, but he let him keep fighting on in a fight which caused him to lose sight in one of his eyes.
Yeah.
So Morgan Freeman's character is blind in one eye, and Clint Eastwood, Frankie, he's he's old man full of regrets from his past deeds, his mistakes.
He's estranged from his daughter.
His daughter doesn't answer his letters. She sends them back, return to sender every
And
time.
then his fighter actually cut him to get a new manager to go fight for the championship.
Yeah, so he seems like this person who has their stuff together, but really deep down below the surface, you watch the movie and Maggie is so in need of Frankie that Frankie doesn't realize that he needs Maggie as much as she needs him.
Yeah, absolutely.
Maggie needs Frankie to train her, and Frankie doesn't realize that he needs Maggie to teach him how to love again.
Yeah.
And to teach him how to feel again, because he's bitter now and he has nothing else really. His social life is talking to a priest.
Yeah.
He goes to mass every day. He talks to a priest, and that's the only people he talks to outside of the gym. And Maggie doesn't have anyone. She even says into the movie, she says like something like, "I don't have anybody but you, Frankie."
Yeah, her family is horrible people.
Yeah. And you can't help but feel proud of Maggie as she's going through her training.
And getting fights.
Because you see the joy in her face when she fights.
She's like a little kid.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
She's like Rocky.
Yeah.
Rocky just wants to fight.
And she has this naivety about her and then watching Clint like get annoyed at her.
Yeah.
Like for just being silly or like having fun. And you could tell he's like so annoyed by this girl, but like he can't help but like want to help her as well.
Yeah, like when Frankie finally takes her on as a trainer, temporarily, he says.
Yeah.
And then Maggie's just going through all these fights, and she's beating the crap out of these girls. And there's a sequence where she goes into, so it'll be a fight starts, and within 2 seconds the bell rings, and then she knocks the person out. Then she knocks another person out, knocks another person out, all with one punch. And Frankie keeps getting more and more upset. And like, this is hilarious sequence where the bell rings, she knocks him out. He's taking the stool away, then he has to bring the stool back. He's taking the stool away, bring the stool back, which is foreshadow for what happens to her. And he's so frustrated with her because he tells her, like, how are you supposed to get in shape for a fight if you just knock the girl out every time in the first round? And so she even tries to go, like, a little bit into a round and still knocks the girl out.
Yeah, because the other girl is barely hitting her.
But, like, every time I watch it, just him taking the stool down, bringing it out, taking the stool down, bringing it out, it just is just the ultimate foreshadow from later on in the movie when she gets her title fight, and then Morgan Freeman doesn't go, so he has to hire some outside help in the corner. And the guy doesn't know, he accidentally brings the stool up. Yeah. And it's just...
He knocks it over, and then...
Yeah, it falls over.
Everyone's seen it, and then she becomes paralyzed.
And she breaks her neck.
And it happens because she's winning the fight, and you think she's
wins
gonna,
that round.
you think she's going to close this fight out, and she's going to win the championship, and you're so excited for her. And, like, she's been gaining momentum, and the crowd's cheering for her. And you think this is it. Like, this is the moment of the movie where she's going to achieve her goal and accomplish it. And then instead, your heart gets ripped out, and everything just falls apart. Because, you know, life's not easy. Shit happens, you know? But to watch the character like that get so close to succeeding and then having it taken away from her.
And as an audience member.
Yeah, it's one of the most heartbreaking things I've ever seen in a movie.
Yeah, me too. Me too, man.
And then the third act is the hospital scenes, all those sequences, and... It's so powerful to see how strong of a bond these two characters, who he wanted nothing to do with her for the longest time, and then now he feels like her father in many ways.
Yeah,
and will do whatever he can to take care of her.
And they both blame themselves for what happened.
Yeah.
You know, Frankie blames himself because, well, at first he blames Morgan Freeman because Morgan Freeman made him train her. Yeah. So he's like, this would have never happened if you didn't make me train her.
Yeah, he's just looking for someone to blame.
And he blames himself. And then Maggie also blames herself because she didn't protect herself. You know, that's what Frankie always taught her. Always taught his fighter's number one rule is to protect yourself at all costs, at all times. And she got very excited after winning the round, and she turns her head, and then the other fighter was the dirtiest fighter.
She got what caused her to fall was the dirty hit. Yeah.
One of the most heartbreaking lines in the movie too is before the title fight, when they're on their way, when they're about to leave, throughout all their training, Frankie, he always says, "Don't ever speak up against me. Like if I say something, do it. Like you don't get to make decisions," in like his Clint way. Yeah. And then for the first time, he lets her make a decision about how they're gonna get there and get home. And he's like, "Do you want to fly there? Or you want to drive there?" She's like, "Fly there, drive back." He's like, "That's about the dumbest thing I've ever heard." And then you realize they fly there and then they drive back in an ambulance. Yeah. Because they have to take the ambulance.
Another foreshadow.
Yeah. So this
movie's deep. Paul Haggis wrote a really great script.
Yeah. And then all the stuff with Makushla. Yeah. So right before she goes out to fight
in the title fight,
he surprises her with a new robe that says, "Oh, no." So
it had been a thing before that. Yeah.
So when they're fighting in Europe, so they do a bunch of fights in Europe, and he surprises her with a new robe that says Makushla on it, and she doesn't know what it means. But Frankie's been reading and studying Gaelic, which is it's Irish language, Celtic language, and she doesn't know what it means, but all the Irish fans start to see it in the European tour, and they're like, "Oh, Makushla."
They start chanting it. When she starts winning fights, they start chanting her.
And she becomes like the draw to the title fight. And she doesn't know what Makushla means. She always asks him playfully.
And he refuses to tell her.
He always playfully, he tells her. He's like, "Just ask somebody if you want to know." And then when he finally tells her, I'm already gonna cry just saying this. When she's paralyzed and she asks about it. Or right before he injects her with the serum,
he kills her,
with the assisted suicide, he says that Makushla means my love, my darling, my blood. It's just, man, my God. And then she cries and he cries, and it's just like I'm like getting. If I wasn't wearing contacts right now, I'd be crying. Gets me every single time.
It's the most emotional movie I think I've seen.
Yeah, and just to get off more onto the directorial and technical stuff, like The thing I love about Clint Eastwood is his focus on supporting characters. And like you'll watch a lot of movies and there'll be interesting characters here and there and they have their thing. But like whenever you have, like when you're watching $1 Million Baby, each side character is very unique and they have their own storyline. Like Morgan Freeman has his own dense story. Even Jay Baruchel has like a dense story. He's like an interesting character.
Anthony Mackie's
in the movie. He's got a little bit. And then
it'll be mosquito bites.
Her family. And I just love that Clint loves to focus on supporting characters as much.
He understands what works.
Yeah, as much as his main characters.
And it's so unique and interesting to think that he makes such high quality films. He's made some incredible films, but it's funny when you think about that. When he's shooting a scene, for the most part, they do one take per actor, and then that's it. So Clint Eastwood is the one take man. He says action. The actor has to do the scene, and if they finish the scene properly, he goes, okay, let's move on. He doesn't want any other takes. He doesn't want any other versions. He just wants that first take.
Bro, he's too old. He wants to go home and sleep. He's like 110. He's gotta get to
maybe
bed.
That's how he makes so many.
Yeah, he makes like 10 movies a year because he just shoots them in a week.
He wants I think
I'm kidding.
He wants that that initial. He thinks that initial take for an actor is their best take.
I get that. I get that because Fincher's notorious for doing like 50 takes per shot.
Yeah,
or a scene even. And then I get that it's a more maybe relaxed feeling and emotion. Is maybe the emotion's more natural because
he thinks that like when an actor walks on into a scene, like they've made all their decisions, so this is they know what they're doing, especially because he's hiring high class actors. Like he just lets them do their thing.
And he's such a talented actor. He's been in so many movies that he understands it so well.
Yeah, exactly.
Like great directors understand how acting works, but he's also been in 100 movies at least probably himself.
I think he's been in so many movies where he's like, oh, it doesn't matter that the light's not in the perfect spot. It's fine. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
No one's going to notice. Whereas Fincher is so specific. Everything in the image, not just the actor, has to be perfect and to the T. But it's so interesting because he's made some incredible films with amazing scenes. And it's unbelievable to think that, most of these scenes were shot in one take.
Yeah, and he still hasn't lost his focus despite being 136 years old. In each year of life, his sweatpants raise higher and higher on his body.
That Bill Hader SNL skit, that's one of my favorite. He just raises the sweatpants higher. They get like run to his chest.
He's still the man, though, man.
There's this the Scott Eastwood story I read in an interview where Clint was editing his newest film, and the California fires were happening in northern LA, and the studio was right by the fires, and they could see the smoke and the entire. I think it was Warner Brothers. Yeah, Warner Brothers, obviously. So the Warner Brothers
last year, right?
Yeah, the entire Warner Brothers studio set. Everyone left, and then Scott Eastwood goes to his dad. He's like, "Well, should we go too?" And then Clint goes, "There's too much work to do. we're staying."
He probably like looked out the window. Was like, "I don't see anything. I don't see any fire. What fire?
Looks like a grill.
It's barbecue.
Get off my lawn.
Get off my set."
But he's just that old school tough guy, no fucks given. I'm gonna do what I want kind of guy. But anyways,
let's stop talking about $1 Million Baby.
We love Clint, but
I'm
let's
gonna start
move on.
crying soon because. Yeah. Oh my God, this is a tearjerker. Like, if you need to get some emotion out, people, go watch $1 Million Baby right now.
If you're worried if you have feelings or not, go watch it.
All right, next up we got The Fighter.
Wicked smart.
The Fighter
from
kid.
Lowell.
I'm from Lowell. The first time I met a girl from Lowell, she goes, "I'm from Lowell. You seen The Fighter?" It's a true story. I've been at a party.
So this was The Fighter. I love because I love David O. Russell. And this was the second film in his like big comeback. He did what's it called?
Silver Linings Playbook.
Silver Linings Playbook, The Fighter, and then American Hustle. He did all those in I think 4 years.
Yeah.
So he crushed it in the 2010s.
American Hustle is good, but not as good as the other two.
Yeah, but it's still a really good movie.
Yeah.
But The Fighter is one of my favorite boxing movies. Amazing filmmaking, amazing acting. The characters are so realistic. I mean, you got Amy Adams and Melissa Leo in supporting roles.
Melissa Leo won an Oscar for this.
Yeah,
There's a very Beatty role, but she won an Oscar for it.
But and then you got probably Christian Bale's best performance.
One of them, yeah.
Yeah.
And like to see the transformation he goes through to become Dickie Eklund.
Yeah.
And like when you're watching at the end of the movie when the credits are rolling, they show the shots of Dickie and
the real footage.
and Mickey,
Yeah.
the real people, and you're like, holy shit, he's literally like the same fucking guy. Like
Yeah.
he copied his mannerisms perfectly, his rhythm, his energy, because Dickie has like a weird bouncy rhythm to him.
Yeah.
And like Christian Bale lost like a ton of weight to do it. They even like thinned his hair out.
Yeah.
And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if Christian Bale like started doing meth just to like understand what it's like to be Dickie Eklund.
There's this really funny story about the set of The Fighter. I heard it from a guy who was a PA on it, and he said that another person who was a PA on the set, they were supposed to be washing this door that led to one of the interior sets, and then Christian Bale was trying to get through, and the PA was like, "Oh no, this is a movie set. You can't come in, sir," because Christian Bale looked like a crazy homeless meth head. And Christian Bale's like, but he was doing his accent because he wouldn't break character. So he was like, "No, I gotta get through." And the PA's like, "I can't let you through, sir. I can't let you through." And then Christian Bale's security guard comes over. He's like, "Do you know who this is?" This is Christian Bale.
That's how good
and
he is.
And the PA like almost shit himself.
Christian Bale is so.
But Christian Bale got a kick out of it. He was laughing about it.
Yeah. But he's so good in this movie, and like, of course, whenever you watch a Boston-based movie, of course, people from Boston can be like, "Lowell's not in Boston. What are you talking about?" Whenever you see like a Boston-based movie, and of course, like The Departed, Matt Damon's from Boston, so he does the accent great.
Yeah.
Leo does a good job with the accent.
Yeah.
Jack Nicholson does a good job with the
Wahlberg
accent.
always does well.
Mystic
obviously.
River, like you'll see, like Kevin Bacon's accent's a little forced. Sean Penn.
Sean Penn killed it.
But like Christian Bale's Boston accent in The Fighter is more realistic than Marky Mark's accent in the movie.
Yeah.
And it's just so good. He's just so good at this movie because everyone fucks up a Boston accent.
Nobody gets it perfect.
Yeah, it's
but
a tough accent to do.
Every time Christian Bale does a movie, it's a different. You just look at it and it's a different person.
Yeah, he's almost like at Daniel Day-Lewis level.
Yeah,
he's pretty close. He's pretty up there. Yeah,
He just doesn't commit as long as Daniel Day does.
That's why I love him because every time I see a trailer for his new movies, I'm like, that's not Christian
What's he gonna
Bale.
look like?
Like even Ford vs Ferrari,
Totally
I'm like,
different.
that doesn't look anything like Christian
I've
Bale.
never seen him look like that either.
Yeah.
And this is like the most normal look for him, except for Bruce Wayne.
Yeah, he just became so gaunt and he lost like 30, 40 pounds.
But the thing he captured this nervous energy that Dickie Eklund has, where he never stops.
That's what I mean. He's got a
always
rhythm.
popping. He's always moving. He's like the Energizer Bunny, whereas Mickey is the complete opposite. He's just like shy and quiet. Likes to keep to himself. Doesn't want to be
Dickie's a crackhead.
Yeah, doesn't want to be the center of
why.
attention. Yeah,
There's a reason.
There's the
He
family
does a lot of drugs, or he did a lot of drugs. But I know that Dickie specifically was like really upset with the way his family was portrayed, like specifically how the sisters were portrayed and the mother and everything like that. And I guess he got into like a screaming match with Christian Bale after the premiere that they went to. But I mean, I guarantee you, like obviously it's sensationalized a little bit, but I mean, it's pretty accurate, I'm sure. Like if you know people from Lowell, if you've been to Lowell, it's not the greatest place.
It's not like those people never got in fights before.
Like
It's
there's a
come
story
on.
where he's getting interviewed and he's talking about another part of the movie where he didn't think was accurate, where the scene where Christian Bale, Dickie Eklund, jumps out of the window into the dumpster.
Yeah, to hide from his mom.
Yeah, so he's like, I didn't like that scene either because I jumped out a window that was higher and there was no dumpster I jumped into. So like, you're telling me you jumped out of 5 stories not into a dumpster, but they got your family wrong? Come on, Dickie. Yo, like, come on, man. Like I jumped out of a window, it was like 7 stories instead of 4 stories, and there was no fucking dumpster down there, guy. Come on, guy. Dickie. He's so good.
And I love David O. Russell with that opening shot. And it has that music like "Tell Me Now." That song,
Yeah.
It was like iconic with that movie when it came out. But he starts the movie. It's a shot of pavement, and the camera's tracking, and then a rake is pushing the pavement, and then it slowly pans up, and then we see like Dickie and Mickey working as pavers.
It's just Marky Mark.
And then Dickie shows up,
Yeah.
and he's just like shoveling pavement. And, like
Yeah.
it's like he's also comes from nothing. Has a shit job, has nothing going for him.
That's what they did a great job capturing Lowell because not to shit on Lowell, but Lowell's not the greatest place in the world. It's kind of like a white trashy heaven.
It's a rough place.
Yeah, it's not the best place. It's not affluent at all, and you can tell like Mickey and Dickie were like the celebrities of the town.
Yeah.
Because, Mickey was this great fighter. Dickie was a great fighter too, but he became a fucking meth head. But Mickey became a great fighter as well. And he had that great trilogy fights with the guy he fights in this movie. Can't remember his name.
Yeah, yeah.
And so he's just like the star of Lowell. And again, Lowell technically is not part of Boston, but it's a Boston-based movie kind of. So it's not directly near the city. It's probably like 25, 30 minutes northwest of the city.
I thought you said west.
Northwest of the city. But I think they did a great job capturing Boston and Lowell and the characters. And obviously they sensationalized a little bit, but like the scene where like they go to Lexington to the movie theater, and Amy Adams' character is like, "What are we doing in Richie Rich Lexington?" That's exactly what we call Lexington.
Yeah.
We call it Richie Rich Lexington, and because Lexington's an affluent part of Massachusetts, and this movie blows me away every time I watch it, man. It really does. I love it.
You really love Mark Wahlberg. Especially after he loses that fight that he shouldn't have been in, because he was fighting someone he didn't know, and who was a lot bigger than him. Because the first act of the movie is the build up to this first fight, and it's like this is a fight that could get him into more recognition, and then he just gets his ass beat, and he comes home, and he just to watch the character give up and not want to fight anymore and just throw in the towel, it's tough.
And he's an aging fighter, so he doesn't have a lot of fights left.
He's already old.
And, he's his mother's his manager, and you can only imagine like the pressure he feels to he has to provide for everybody.
Yeah,
but they all treat him like garbage, even though he's providing all their money for everything.
Yeah, like when they have the meeting, like everyone's there.
They don't work. His sisters don't work. I mean, his mother books the fights for him, but she's probably not that great of a manager, and probably is missing out on opportunities.
Yeah,
for
and
him.
clearly she is more concerned with the money because she encouraged him to go into that first fight because it was a good check if he won. So she doesn't think about his health and his safety first and foremost.
Yeah, in the hotel room, they're like, "Oh, he's a bum. You can beat him. Don't worry about it. He's a bum."
They said that because he knocked out another guy that knocked this guy out, then he could beat him.
Yeah,
but like that's not how boxing goes.
Yeah, that's not how anything goes.
Yeah,
but yeah, it's just a tough dynamic when your family is so involved in your financial life.
Yeah,
and despite being the provider, they treat you like you're below them, and they control you.
But Dickie never did.
Yeah, Dickie didn't do that because Dickie was too busy getting high off drugs. Again.
And then I think one of the most powerful parts of that movie is when Dickie gets out and he's clean. And then there's the whole fight about he wants to be the trainer again and no one else wants him to be the trainer. So then there's a big fight and Amy Adams leaves and then Mickey goes, "You get her back for me and then you can be my trainer again."
Yeah.
And so he takes the cake. And he finds Amy Adams and they make up, but then he takes the cake to his old crack house, his old meth house, and his old friends are there. Like they've been missing him. And they're like, "Come on, let's go smoke, let's go." And he just gives them this look, like he's a different person. You can tell it. And obviously he's Christian Bale, so good he sells it. And he just gives them the cake. And then he leaves and he's got like the icing on his hand.
Yeah, he licks his hand.
Yeah, it's such a good. It's unbelievable. It's so good.
Yeah, because also like you're dealing with Dickie Eklund is an interesting character because he's this former fighter, but he thinks there's a documentary being filmed about him for being a fighter. And being a former boxer,
and about his comeback.
But really, it's a documentary about meth and drug addiction.
Yeah,
and he tricks himself into thinking it's about him being a fighter and his comeback
until it gets shown to them at the prison and he sees what it really is and he feels ashamed of himself.
Yeah,
I bet that was a turning point for him seeing that
because he has kids.
Yeah,
and, he's got a family.
Yeah,
and his kids are gonna watch this. I think he screams that in the jailhouse. He's like my kids are gonna see this. Yeah. And it's really powerful. And Christian Bale's performance is probably the best he's ever done.
And then that last fight and then Dickie goes into the corner with Mickey and he's like, "You put he's like gives that speech to Mickey and it's like I get goosebumps every time.
Yeah.
He's like, "You put everything into this. You're gonna fucking go out there." It's so good.
Yeah. The fight sequences are great.
Yeah,
they weren't like super special, but he did a great job making it seem very realistic.
Yeah,
with like a large audience. And mixing in with like the TV and the broadcast. And
there's a great montage to show because obviously Mickey had to fight in a lot of fights to get to the title, and Russell does this really great technique of he's like constantly moving the camera in the ring, but it's a montage of different fights all cut together. So like Mickey will be fighting one guy and knock him out, and then the camera pans and he's fighting another guy and knocks him out. So it's a great way to show the montage in a new way.
Yeah. Mark was in great shape for it. I know Mark was in shape for 5 years because
it was in development for so long.
Yeah, in 2004 they were originally going to shoot it, but it got played with production delays, and I'm sure Christian Bale being Batman, and probably they had other people that were going to play the part. Like I think Matt Damon was attached to be Dickie.
Brad Pitt was attached.
Yeah, Brad. So there are a lot of different people attached to play it. So, but Mark stayed in shape between 2004 and 2009.
Boxing shape
every day. He said he boxed every day to stay in shape, so that as soon as they got the green light. Because they shot this in I think 35 days or something like that.
Because Dickie doesn't have to fight, so you don't need someone else to train.
And so he had to stay in shape for whenever David Russ was like, "Yo, we got the green light, let's do this." So Mark had to be ready to go to be able to fight a boxing movie. All right, we got really one more we're gonna talk about because we didn't want to do a ton of boxing movies. Obviously, there are a lot.
Just the greats,
just the really
absolute
the great
greats.
Ones.
Yeah.
And so the last one we're gonna talk about is Ali.
Yeah.
Starring Will Smith, directed by Michael Mann, which is a very good boxing movie, but also culturally relevant movie politically today, as relevant as ever, and an amazing performance by Will Smith.
Yeah, I mean, it's a daunting task to take on one of the most iconic figures in American history over the past 50 years. And after watching Will Smith as Ali, you couldn't picture anyone else even coming close to it.
Yeah,
he was perfect.
I mean, Denzel could have done it when he was younger, but I mean, in terms of the age at the time, Will Smith was like the only guy who could do it. And ironically, he turned it down. And then Muhammad Ali was like, "Yo, Will, you got to do this because you're the only one talented enough and good looking enough to play me." True story.
That's such an Ali thing to say.
And Ali's such an interesting guy because he was not only was he a phenomenal athlete, incredibly hardworking, but he was politically aware of the world and what was going on.
He was a civil rights activist.
Very wise, and he was hysterical.
So funny.
And they did a really good job in this movie capturing all those parts of Ali, where they do all this political activism and all his rantings and his speeches and everything, and also they bring the humor.
Yeah.
I didn't know a ton about Ali before I saw this movie because we were kids.
All you know is he was the best, he was the greatest.
And I kind of knew about when he didn't want to go to Vietnam.
Yeah.
But I didn't really understand what that meant. I kind of understood what a draft meant, but you don't understand what the daunting task that is on a person.
Yeah.
And him standing up to the government and saying, "I'm not going to Vietnam. I don't agree with this war. I don't agree with war, and I'm not going to go to war.
Yeah.
And you can put me in jail if you want to."
Yeah. He was willing to go to jail for his religion and his beliefs.
Yeah.
And it's a powerful thing to do, and people hated him for it. A lot of people did, but he stuck to what he believed in, and you got to admire him for that.
Yeah. I mean, in the boxing scenes, they're cool. They're not shockingly unique or creative, but there are a lot of great perspectives Michael Mann gets to in terms of being kind of far away in the crowd and then throwing you right behind the shoulders of the guys throwing the punches.
He's got a lot of tight shots in this, and he makes you feel like you're in the ring a lot, like Raging Bull.
Yeah.
But Michael Mann's a really smart director.
Yeah.
In that Rumble in the Jungle sequence, I mean, that's a great fight, and it's I get
the George Foreman fight.
Yeah, I get goosebumps every time that goes because the crowd's huge and immense, and it's so loud, and it's outdoors, and you just hear the rumble. Oh my! It's so great, man. It's unbelievable.
And I like the way Will played this part because he didn't try to just do a Muhammad Ali impression the whole time, which a lot of actors probably would have done. He instead he took Ali's character and use his parts of his being and his character to just try to and make an impression of him rather than just impersonate him. So he didn't try to impersonate him.
Captured the person.
He captured a Will Smith impression of him. Yeah, the person of him. He didn't try to just sound exactly like him and I'm the greatest ever and I sting feel like a butterfly, sting like a bee. So he did it in his own way, which was unique, and I don't think a lot of actors would have had the balls to do that.
Yeah.
Most of them would probably just try to do the voice as accurately as possible.
Yeah, and it's a hard movie to pull off because he's so iconic. And Ali was such a unique fighter. He was boxing when he was 13, 14 years old. That's when he started training and fighting. He was fighting as a kid in teenage amateur bouts. And it's we talk about guys like Bruce Lee and as a great martial artist, but when it comes down to it, no one's ever been better than Muhammad Ali at fighting.
No way, dude.
He's the greatest fighter ever.
Muhammad Ali would mess Bruce Lee up.
Yeah.
Bruce Lee's a very iconic person. He's a great philosopher. He's very smart, articulate, obviously highly intelligent. He's very charming and witty, good writer, good actor. But again, Bruce Lee was mostly an actor.
Yeah.
He trained people, and he was obviously
He trained celebrities.
trained a lot of athletes and stuff, and fought Chuck Norris behind closed doors. Chuck Norris said that Bruce Lee would beat him in a fight easily. But again, there's no recorded fight of Bruce Lee.
Yeah.
And so when people say that like Bruce Lee would definitely beat Muhammad Ali,
If
it's
they were
just
like pound for pound the same
are
size.
you kidding me?
No way.
Do you have any idea how big Muhammad Ali is? I don't care how fast Bruce Lee is. Muhammad Ali would tear him apart.
And even if they were pound for pound the same size, because Muhammad Ali was just a genius fighter, and also no one could knock him out.
Yeah.
He didn't got he. That's why he ended up with mental deterioration, because he would just take blow after blow after blow from the toughest guys, the strongest guys. He would never fall down.
Stayed pretty too.
Yeah, that guy could take a beating, and that's how he won his most important fights, from being able to take that beating, and he pretty much sacrificed his body to accomplish. Because and another thing about Muhammad Ali is, and they showed it in the movie really well, is he lost. He failed, and he had to get back to the top, and that shows a real champion. Because lots of people become champion like once, but not many can become champion twice. And he did that. He accomplished that, and he beat the most ferocious fighter we had seen.
And he's probably the greatest boxer of all time. Although Muhammad Ali said that before he died, rest in peace, 2016. He said that Mike Tyson would have beat him. Can you imagine seeing Mike Tyson
my
versus Muhammad
God.
Ali?
I saw an interview on a podcast. Tyson has a new podcast, and he said that someone asked him who would win in a fight, and Tyson said, "I don't know, but I know for sure that I wouldn't be able to knock him out, because no one could knock him out."
I don't know about that, because Mike Tyson is like the hardest punching person to ever step in the ring.
Yeah, but if he says that, you can trust him.
But again, it's like he's your idol.
Yeah,
you wouldn't want
that's
to talk
true.
down to your idol.
Yeah.
But again, Muhammad Ali said that Tyson would have beat him in his way of communicating.
Tyson was an animal.
Tyson, I can't wait to see him fight again.
I know, it's gonna be crazy. Remember the Mike Tyson game?
Yeah,
on
dude.
Nintendo.
Mike Tyson
That was
knockout.
the
Come on,
fucking
bro.
best game.
Well, it's gonna be cool because Jamie Foxx is gonna play Mike Tyson. All right, that's all we got for episode 11.
Best
of
boxing movies.
Raiders of the Lost podcast. Stay tuned for Monday's episode. We'll figure out what we're going to do then. If you're new, subscribe. Follow us everywhere. Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. Subscribe again. Spotify, Google Podcasts, iTunes, Apple Podcasts. We're everywhere. People, hit us up on TikTok. Thank you for the support.
Thank you guys. We love you.
Leave us comments. DM us if you have any requests for a movie you want us to talk about, a director you want us to talk about, any movie topic. Just let us know. Have a great week and weekend.
Take care, guys.
And see you
And
later.
ladies.